Hey everybody, John Felt here, and this is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing for the 29th of September. Normally this time of year is very quiet. This is the harvest season, and usually of all the seasons, most parts of the nation, not much going on. Now there is one exception, and that is if we get that tropical activity like we saw last week. Helene was a historic storm, unfortunately a very deadly storm. And in a nutshell, two reasons why that was, and number one is its intensity. Category 4 hurricanes are rare, U.S. landfalling Category 4 hurricanes. And also, and just as importantly, the size of this hurricane is a very large hurricane. So you put those two together and we get multiple very serious impacts. We had storm surge that just close to enough, the winds sort of flowing around like this, and all these bays here, it brought the pushed the water inland here, and then the eye wall pushed up here, and it pushed that pulse of water into the northern part of Florida there. So we had the storm surge. We also had high winds, not just at the coast, but also well inland. Look at all the wind reports, high wind reports up in the Appalachian region. Although this was the swath of the highest winds, the hurricane force winds, and that was just east of Tallahassee and Atlanta. And if it would have been just a little bit west, I think that would have impacted, the wind part would have impacted Atlanta and Tallahassee more. So it was a little bit east, and that enhanced the surge action on the west coast of Florida. If it would have gone a little bit west, it would have brought more wind into Tallahassee and Atlanta. So very slight changes in track have different impacts. Now, one of the biggest impacts, and I'm sure you've seen everything on the news, was the heavy rain. And whenever you get that tropical rain pulled inland, it impacts urban areas with urban issues and flash flooding because there's a lot of impervious surface. We get a lot of runoff. And then it also, when it gets into the mountains or the higher elevations, it is lifted and causes very severe impacts, as we've seen. So we have this precipitable water initially from the Gulf and now still from the Atlantic over the weekend that's being converged right into the higher elevations of the Appalachians. And what that does, again, that produces that lift, and that produces more rain, and because it's so hilly, it runs off very quickly, and we get the flash flooding. So we had major to historic flooding at many areas here, especially these areas in purple. Now, other than Helene last week, it was fairly quiet, and I think the big story was just the heat in some areas, especially the Southwest. We're transitioning to fall slowly, and I think with the warm temperatures, maybe a little slower than normal. If we take a look at that upper left, that's Alaska. That looks like it's transitioned to winter. That's northern Alaska. Minnesota, top right, we're seeing some change in colors, and basically the changing colors of foliage is at the higher elevations of the Rockies, the far upper Midwest along the Canadian border, and New England. And again, it's been a bit slower than normal because we've had really unusually warm weather in many areas over the last week, including record or near record temperatures in these areas on Saturday. So it's been really hot, and especially Phoenix, which hit 117 yesterday, a record, and the overnight lows are running near the records for the warmest nighttime readings. Now, this black horizontal line is the 100-degree mark at Phoenix, and look at this. Since June 1st, almost every day, there's a little stretch here, but almost every day has been above 100 degrees since about June 1st. So a record stretch of heat. It's broken many records. The duration of heat in the Southwest this summer and now this fall is extraordinary. Okay, so as far as rivers go, we do have the highest flows associated with Helene as it moved up the East Coast. I did want to point out that the water coming down the Ohio here, this is Evansville and Cairo, it's working its way down into the Mississippi, Memphis, and Greenville. and Baton Rouge here, and what we have is this pulse of water, and it's bringing us out of the low flow situation, at least for the current time. And that might be the only positive from Helene. Okay, so as far as the jet stream goes, this is the upper circulation and upper low, and the moisture, the remnant moisture from Helene was entrained into that. So it's still providing some showery weather and unfortunately more rain for the Appalachians. High pressure off to the west, really hot conditions. And then this week, a very fast moving system across the upper Midwest. And then behind it, we are going to have, again, that high pressure in the southwest. So we're looking at parts of the western U.S., prolonged heat as we get into October, and probably some break in the heat with this system here. So taking a look at temperatures here, well, what stands out? A lot of red. Anywhere we see these areas of dark red, this is unusually warm weather for this time of year, and you can sort of see the areas where that is. And this is right into the middle of October. So we are going to be delaying the seasons in many of these areas. And matter of fact, poor Phoenix, because they're going to have another week of temperatures above the 100-degree mark. Now, I think we also have to keep an eye out, again, unfortunately, on the tropics. I put out a post last week about the Madden-Julian oscillation, of how that is making the Atlantic basin favorable for tropical development, and we have a number of systems, but this is the one we want to watch right in here, and we want to keep an eye on this. It's a very similar path that Helene took. It moves into the Gulf. This is all week long, so we have ways to look at it. We'll see what it does, and I will keep you updated. I think it's way too early to draw any conclusion, but it does show that if, at the very minimum, it has the potential to bring some heavy rain to coastal areas. Let's keep an eye on that. You can see that rain here. This is 7 days out, so it's just getting to the coast, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it, and unfortunately, I don't think any of the areas in recovery need any rain. But other than that, look at the rest of the country, very dry. Unfortunately, a little bit more rain in the Appalachians, another inch, and that's going to go right into rivers. But the big picture from a national perspective, again, we're looking at this 30-day rainfall departure, and red is well below normal, hardly any rain. So I think those rivers, main stem grain transport rivers, are going to get a reprieve, but I think as we get later in the month, they are again going to be falling down to likely low levels. And you can see here, here's the extended, this is the 8 to 14, and this is actually, I put weeks 3 and 4. See a lot of brown, which means dry, a lot of orange, which means above normal temperatures. So I think from a national perspective, we are looking at above normal temperatures, below normal rainfall for weeks ahead. That's this week's briefing. Have a great week.